You've brought up this disappearing information thing a couple of times, and we actually just haven't explored that on the Bankless podcast yet. I don't know. I actually am unfamiliar. Maybe you can kind of just give us the quick download on what that is and why you're concerned.
Sure. I've written about this a lot. I
Mhm.
first started writing about it in 2020, and there was an issue of people changing definitions of things online in the middle of contentious political debates, political debates.
Mhm.
So there'd be some debate over the phrase like, sexual preference, is that offensive? And ACB, the Supreme Court Justice, was in her confirmation hearing, and she used the phrase. And a Huffington Post writer reported that as highly offensive. He was like, ACB just used the phrase sexual preference, which is bigoted and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, is it? I didn't know that. It's like dated for sure, but like, is it offensive sexual? I didn't know that. So I Googled it, and at first it was not. And then as the news cycle blew up, the Webster's Dictionary changed the definition. So I was like, that's crazy. Like that you can just change it to say that it was offensive. It had been offensive. It was very nerve-wracking to me because nobody has a physical dictionary anymore. They're relying on these internet definitions. And so if someone controls that, then they have a lot of cultural influence that previously they did not. Your record was what was ever on your shelf. The problem is much broader than that. This is like articles change randomly without a notation about it. Definitions of words change based on whatever thing is happening politically. That then determines the debate, the shape of the debate. Wikipedia is a huge problem. People are like, well, there's a record of the edits or whatever, and it doesn't matter. Most recently, we saw this with the flag that was flying in front of one of the Supreme Court justices' house. It was the green tree flag. That had, over the 1 week where that became a controversy, there were more edits to that page than over the preceding, I think it was 6 or 7 years. I would have to go back. I think it was even longer than that because I tweeted out about this. I actually counted all of the edits. You have a war going on right now that most people have no sense of whatsoever. It's a straight up information war, and it's biased completely in favor of one ideological worldview. And so that was where that's like the most topical political version of this problem, is that like the information is just changing, and there's this sort of invisible information war happening that is shaping the frame of our entire politics right now and culture and whatever else. But then you have this additional problem of things straight up vanishing. And so, all of the old LiveJournal, Zanga, MySpace, GeoCities, Google nuked all of these old YouTube and Gmail accounts. There's endless amounts of information in all of these things that comprised culture online for the first 2 decades of the 21st century that is fading very fast, faster than information from 100 years ago is fading. That information is fading. And it's going to be very hard for us to reflect back in 50 or 70 years and assemble an accurate portrait of what we were at this time, I think. And so I think it's a very hard problem to wrap your head on because it's a very hard problem to wrap your head around because it's so abstract. I have a hard time myself, and I think about it a lot. But it is this invisible, very important problem facing our entire society right now.
Right. And it's not coming from any one central epicenter. There's not the ministry of truth, but it kind of is similar to that. I think what some of the things you're saying is the internet is soft. It's malleable. And so some things as a result of this malleability are pruning snippets of the internet as they see fit to benefit them and their reality and their version of the truth. And so, yeah, I think you're just asking for literally just a harder version of the internet, one that's a little bit just more structured and less malleable. Is that kind of just what you're seeking?
What I'm seeking is to have a conversation about this problem. I want people to think about this problem. I don't know what the solution is. I think that the internet inherently is malleable. And so the technology, this is Marshall McLuhan talked a lot about this. He posed this very interesting series of topics. Central to his philosophy is the idea that most people think that technology is additive. You invent a new technology and it's the the typewriter, okay? The typewriter is just as good as the printing press. It does everything the printing press does, plus a little more. So it's like this old thing plus this new thing. And then the computer comes along and the computer's like, well, it's just as good, the word processor is just as good as the typewriter. It's everything that does plus a little more. So culture isn't, changing. It's just growing. There's now new things that the old thing could do. It's not true at all. Every new technology, the medium that you exist inside of, has fundamentally new rules that reshape society completely. And the way that the tools that you use to build and to communicate alter you entirely. The world of the internet is completely different than the world pre-internet, which is completely different than the world pre-print, like fundamental differences. They're not additive differences. And I think the internet is something that we are just understanding. And this one aspect of it is new. And so unexplored, I think that we actually don't even fully know. There are many aspects of the internet. The rapid instant global virality is another new property of the internet. So rapid viral sharing of any piece of information that could be erroneous or not and have consequences because of the rapid sharing. For example, COVID. Okay. Had you had a virus like that 50 years ago be released from a lab in China, would we have seen lockdowns all over the world? I don't know. I don't think so. Actually, I do know. It would not have happened because these controversies would have broken down at different times in different places at a very slower speed. And so you would have had a much more sort of diverse set of practices that played out. Now you could say that's bad, and everybody, had they just locked down immediately and starved to death or something, like the world would be a better place. I don't think so. But I mean, that was not possible, is my point. Like these are new properties of the internet. And I think this one, the malleable piece, and the fact that it's so easy to change information, the fact that, you have to have a conversation now. I have screenshots of what the definition was yesterday, and people are like, well, did you doctor them? I have no idea. I don't believe you. We're entering the world of deepfakes, which adds a whole other layer to this. Like it's very interesting that the very first deepfake controversy that we're having is Biden's press secretary conflating the word cheap fakes and deep fakes, but also using the word deep fake to talk about just an unfairly edited piece of information, but implying that, Biden acting very senile in these video clips that Republicans are weaponizing were not real. And so you have someone hiding behind deep fakes rather than using them to attack someone. And that is what the future is. It's going to be like, did this happen or not? I have no idea. And it's like, we haven't even figured out the internet shit yet. And now we're adding, generated information online. It's super, super malleable and like clownish, cartoonish. That's a different kind of reality that we're living inside of now. It's like a dream world. And so that's going to affect our culture, the impermanence of everything.
To continue leveling up your crypto game, then you need to get on the Bankless newsletter. It's the world's most popular crypto email and is completely free. Just click below to sign up.